Hey guys, welcome to another episode of A Drummer's Guide to. So, this week I have a question. Yay! And it's from Mooncat Drums, which in fairness, Mooncat Drums, I'm pretty sure you asked me this about 4 months ago, so I'm very sorry that I'm only getting round to answering it now for you. But here we are. So, Mooncat Drums' question is about monitoring, and they are asking if I use monitors, what monitoring I use, and what I listen to in my mix when I am playing a gig. So let's talk about monitoring first of all, because you may be going, what are you talking about? A monitor is something that you plug into a computer. So monitoring is basically when you're on a gig or in the studio or wherever, it's what you hear in your ears, and that can be in-ear monitoring, which are like headphones, or it can be wedges, which are basically big old speakers that are on the floor that are facing your ear. Or sometimes you can have no monitors at all. No monitors at all. Yeah, that's how I started out. No monitors at all, because that's just what you did in gigs, like just regular gigs as a kid. It was like there were no monitors because there weren't systems, you'd be lucky to get a PA just to have out front, let alone, on a gig. Let alone on stage is what I mean. So let's talk about monitors. So I use monitors in like different types of monitoring, depending on the situation, the artist, what the different instruments are that are on the gig. So let's talk about a couple of them. So let's talk about in-ears. In-ears, as I say, it's basically like having headphones in your ears, but they're usually, at least for me, I've got molds, which means that they are sealed, which means that you don't get a lot of outside noise. So rather than, because you put regular headphones on, it's a nightmare. You can't hear anything in the headphones. It's like being on the tube. Anyone that's been on the tube with normal headphones in, like, I don't know, like these Apple ones or whatever, you can hear everything around you, and it's like you've got to turn it right up, and you end up going deaf, and it's a whole nightmare. So in-ear monitors that are molded means that you get that seal, which means it's similar to noise cancelling headphones, I suppose. And I know that you can actually get in-ear proper in-ear headphones these days as well. I'm starting to sound really old. So these are what I use the most at the moment on gigs. So that is with Kim Wilde, we're using in-ear monitors. That is with The Voice Kids, we use in-ear monitors. With Howard Jones, I was using in-ear monitors. With Tom Bailey, I was using in-ear monitors. With Cher Lloyd. Tricky was an interesting one. I'll get back to that. Who else? Brian. No, we weren't using in-ear monitors at all. Anyway, so yes, and they are very good, because what it means is that no matter what venue you go to, no matter what musical situation, you have like a baseline of what you can hear, because you don't have all these outside influences. You do have a bit, because obviously every venue you go to, every gig you do, things are mic'd up slightly differently. You might have a different monitor engineer doing your mix. There are a lot of variables, but I find if you're using in-ear monitors, in fact any monitoring at all, if you have like a baseline of what you can work with or work from, then that really helps. So for me personally, when it comes to in-ears, and as I say, those gigs that I'm currently using them on and have used them on, the main reason that we use them is because we're running track and clicks. So track will be like the little random noises that people can't play because it's physically impossible, or it's just, it's a lot easier to program that up and then we play to that. Clicks is so that things are played in time and at the right tempo and things like that. And also if you're using track in tandem, then obviously everything needs to be on a grid locked in, and then the band then lock in with that. So that's kind of my baseline. If I could only hear one thing, if I could only hear one thing in my ears, it would be the click, because as a drummer, obviously it's literally my one job. You had one job, and that is playing in time. And if I'm not in time with the track or the click, then we're kind of, that's not going to work. So that would be my number one thing. If I could only hear one thing, and I'm the kind of person, I'm so obsessive about how I learn stuff, I can play a gig to a click and know exactly where we are, just because I know songs so well inside and out. I will just play the song in my head whilst playing to the click and know that it will be fine. And again, me personally, because I'm a bit mental like that, I need to get to that point in every gig, and would I recommend? I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend you do it too. It's up to you. What I will say is that there is a lot of what's the word? You can feel very secure in yourself as a player and a musician if you know something so well that if everything else falls apart and you only have one element, you could still play a gig. There is something really comforting in that, at least for me. So that's part of the reason that I basically choose to learn songs like that, which probably seems a little bit mental, but that's fine. So click, that is my base level. If I'm using in-ears, I need to hear the click above everything else. Secondly, I would like to hear, please, Mr. Monitor Man, the track. Now, the reason for this is because sometimes the track, if you're working with someone that is very into like working with clicks and the grid, the track will be locked into that click like beyond, and it's just like, cool, as long as you're playing to the track, then that means that as long as you're playing to the click, you know that you'll be locked in with the track. However, a lot of backing tracks do move around the click, and that's just the nature of the song or anything like that. So my second thing is to hear the track. If I'm allowed to hear two things, please, Mr. Monitor Man, the track would be great. And why would I want to hear that? Okay, let's say that it does move around the backing track a little bit. I would like to now not forget about the click. The click is still there. I would rather concentrate on locking in with the backing track, because that is something that is going to stay constant, as is the click. However, the click ain't going out front. The track is. So if I'm playing just to the click and disregarding the track completely, it might sound a little bit messy and not very locked in, and I ain't about that. I am about locked in, I am about groove, I'm about trying to make things feel as good as physically possible. So I want to be locked in with that track. So if that track moves, let's say we're in a verse and it's laid back on the click, so the click feels way ahead and the track feels way behind, I'd rather be trying to lock with that track, and then everyone else can lock with me. And why do I do this? Because, again, like I say, the track is going to be consistent. It's going to stay the same every night. So, and the people up front are hearing it. So as long as I'm locked in with that, we've got a great bass line. Bass level. Let's say that, because it's going to get confusing. As if I don't confuse people enough already with my rambling. Sorry about that. Right, those are the two things that I think if I can have those two things on a gig, that's wicked. Let's go for a luxury third thing. Now, I know as a drummer, I'd like to hazard a guess. In fact, right, what do you reckon? Let's say it's a standard band. Let's say we're doing a Kim Wilde show, right? Here are the musicians that are on the stage. In fact, it's slightly unusual because there's two drummers. So let's forget about the two drummer thing. In a standard band, let's see, there's bass, there's guitar, there's keys, there's vocals, right? What would you reckon is the next thing that I would want to hear in my mix? I'm going to give you like it's a countdown thing. It's a UK thing. If you're in the States, I'm sorry, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, or in fact anywhere else in the world, but yeah, have a guess. Okay, that's enough time. So my next thing is 100% the vocals. I want to hear the vocalist because a few reasons, actually. Firstly, I love vocals. I love lyrics. It is what I play to. It's how I decide to phrase my parts in terms of fills, or maybe little accents here or there, or feel, or whatever it is. I learned this a long time ago. When I say feel, F-E-E-L, and fill, F-I-L-L, apparently they sound the same. Often. There's a few words I have like that. Anyway, so I take a lot of my information and my reaction of what to play from what the singer is doing. The other thing is that I like to know, say something's wrong, if the singer's having a bad time because of something, I like to know about it. So therefore, I would like them in my ears. Also, it's a massive marker point for me for where we are in a song. If I, like, lyrics are everything to me. The other thing is that, like, on a basic level, the vocals is, unless you're playing in an instrumental band or whatever, especially if you're playing with an artist, the vocals are the most accessible thing to an audience member. And therefore, it's the thing that the audience member probably is there to see. Like, let's talk about in a pop situation, like with Kim Wilde. They're there to see Kim Wilde. They're there to sing the songs that they heard when they were younger, from the album that they've just bought, or whatever it is. So I need to, like, to me, the most respect needs to be given to those vocals in every respect. So if I can't hear those vocals, let's say that Kim decides she wants to change a line somewhere, like in the way that she sings it or her phrasing, I don't want to be playing all over it because I don't want to ruin the audience's experience of it. So that is my third thing. And to be honest, if I could only hear those three things, the click, the track and the vocals, I would have a great gig. That would be awesome. But then for me, I just sprinkle the rest of the band in there with that. So obviously on the Kim Wilde gig, we do have two drummers, so me and Jonathan Atkinson. So I will have him in my ears so that I know that I'm locking in with him. But that is an unusual situation, generally speaking. At least it is at the moment. Maybe it will become completely normal in the future. So that's one. And then obviously the bass, locking in with the bass. I have an affinity with guitar players and what they do, so I like hearing guitar. I have a whole thing about locking in with guitar. It's my personal preference. I just love guitarists. I probably should have been a guitarist. If I had any inclination, any natural sort of like inclination or ability with guitar, I'd probably be playing it. But I don't, so drums, woo! No, I love the drums. Drums is everything. So that's what I would hear in my ears if I am on a gig with in-ear monitors. So let's say I'm doing a gig with monitors on the floor. So basically giant speakers. For that, to be honest, I usually can hear everything on stage to a point. I'll have bits and bobs, but again, the number one thing I will have in there is vocals because that's everything to me. So it's a similar mix, but let's just take away basically the track and the click, because doing gigs with track and click coming from a monitor from down on the floor is very difficult. I've done it. It's stressful. It's very stressful. It doesn't work a lot of the time. It doesn't sound good. There's no need to do it. I don't like it. Interesting one though, on the Tricky gig, we had a half and half. So I would have one ear in for clicks and track. Yeah, and track. And then, was it? No, maybe it was just clicks. No, it was just clicks because they panned it all over one side. So just clicks in one ear, and then I would have a monitor on the floor, which would give me the band, as it were. I don't know why I'm doing that. That's not... that's... what? The rest of the band would be coming through the monitor, and then one in ear for the click. So again, that was fine. Was it fine? Maybe not. I think I went slightly deaf from doing that gig because for various reasons. But anyway, it's a way to do it. It works. It's not ideal, but it definitely works. And in terms of gigs with no monitoring, well, I'll be honest, they're some of my favourite gigs of all. So you rock up to a venue, ain't no monitors, and you've just got to listen to what the room is saying. You've got to listen to the guitarist that is blaring on your right. You've got to listen to the giant bass cab that's on your left, and then you only hear the vocalist through their monitor, which is like 10 feet away, and that's when this other thing comes into play, actually. And this is, I suppose, I've never thought about this actually until this very moment. I suppose that this is why I am the way that I am when I'm on stage, when I play with people. And yeah, I can't believe I never realised this. So growing up, my journey as a musician was always, like, for the first, 8 years of my life playing drums, was doing gigs with no monitors, no nothing. It was just playing on stage. How would I get through that? I would be eagle eyes on the musicians, and especially, so the singer would be first because they like, yeah, I'd just be watching like a hawk, and then the guitarist would probably be second, or it would be a combination of the two depending. And I would learn, not intentionally, but I would notice, I suppose is a better word, I would notice the little micro movements that people would do to, say, if they were going from a verse into a chorus, say, like a guitarist would move the neck of their guitar in a certain way, which would signal to me, oh, we're about to go into a chorus, cool, let's go into a chorus. So it wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was about listening, but when you can't hear anything, it's kind of like, well, now what? So I would rely on my eyes to see what was happening. And let's say we're doing a chorus and then the singer starts to turn to the guitarist, and I'm like, oh cool, well, we're about to go into a guitar solo, wicked, all right, cool, right, let's go into that. And there we go, lo and behold, a guitar solo. And I really, I've never thought about this, I still rely on my eyes massively. I was in rehearsals recently and I caught myself doing it, and I always feel a little bit self-conscious. I catch myself and I just go, oh my gosh, I'm actually staring at like the guitarist's hands, for instance, or the keys player's hands, or the bass player, and like, I hope I'm not making them feel uncomfortable. It's just one of those like force of habit things, and it makes me feel settled, and it makes me lock in a bit better when I can hear it as well as see it, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, I think it comes from coming up in a world where we didn't have monitors, so you just made do and you did the best with what you had, which I have my eyes, I'm very lucky. So yeah, so that's another way to kind of like, I suppose that is in a way a type of monitoring. And actually, wow, this is like a therapy session. So when I was playing with Tricky, and he works in that way where you don't know what you're going to play, you don't even really know the song, you just know the parts, and then he points at people to start and stop. I would be watching him like a hawk, and I would know, like, he does this thing where when he wants to bring the whole band up, he does this thing, or he wants it to come down, he does this thing, or pointing or whatever. I used to watch him like a hawk, and I would know before he would do this, I knew that we were going up, so I would build it like as he would. It's really hard to explain. I would build it as he would start doing this, because I knew that he was about to do it. Consequently, we got him really well musically, because he was like, yeah, like, I don't know, I think he just liked that I kind of preempted when he would do things. Sorry, I'm doing that awkward thing where I'm not saying that I'm good or anything, but you know, I don't know, it seemed to work. So yeah, so I think it comes from that. So I'd say that is like a third secret way of monitoring, and I still do it even if I've got the clicks, the track, if I've got a perfect mix. There are still moments where your mind wanders. Probably shouldn't admit this, and you might be playing a chorus and you're going, oh my god, what chorus is this, where are we in the song, I don't even, what are we doing? And my first instinct that I will always do is look at people and see what their movements are, and to go to the next section to know what we're about to do. So I think that it can all play in together, but I think at the baseline, if you're able to work with not being able to hear anything, and watch the other musicians and work out, just understand their movements, what they do to get into the next section and do all that, and then literally anything else on top of that is a bonus. Because I think if you can work with nothing and do a good job, that's a pretty good starting point. Yeah, anyway, Mooncat drums. I'm not sure if I answered your question at all, but yeah, thank you for the therapy session. Anyway, if you are working with monitors, I hope this has helped you in some way, and I think it is just about finding out what works for you, and just going with it. Basically, that's what all of this is about. It's just what works for you, really, and trying to do as best you can. But anyway, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna leave you. I'll be back next week with another video about something or another, more rambling, I'm sure. If you have any questions yourself, if you have any subjects you want me to cover, if there's something that you're struggling with or anything like that, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will strive to do a video for you. Hopefully it won't take as long as it's taken for me to record this for Mooncat drums. Apologies again, like I said, I think it's about been a few months. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you again. And I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.
The drum is